You break it, you buy it. All right, I'd like to call the Village of Cottage Grove Village Board of Trustees to order. Someone else. Okay. All right, we are well, technical echo thing on there. We are holding this Village Board of Trustees on Monday, December 5th at 6:30 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting, meaning that we are on Zoom. The Zoom link is at the top of the agenda, as well as an audio call-in, and we are in the room in Village Hall as well. We'll start. We have a quorum. The agenda was properly posted, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, we have public appearance. This is public's opportunity to speak. If you are from the public, either on the Zoom or in the room, I just ask that you share your name, your address, your municipality, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes, just in case we have a number of folks who would like to speak. So with that, I will pause. All right, next we have discuss and consider our meeting minutes from our regular board meeting held on November 21st. Any questions, comments, edits?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Melissa. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next, I'll open a public hearing. This will be public's opportunity to hear interested from citizens regarding our 2023 proposed budget for the Village of Cottage Grove. Matt, you want to go through the memo and?
Sure. Thanks, John. So the village board established a preliminary budget and that was published and provided both on our website and at published in the paper and available here at Village Hall for comment. I'll just ask Lisa if have we received any feedback to the board, anything submitted to the clerk?
We have not received anything.
Okay, so tonight's proceedings, I'll just go through some highlights here of the budget and then John, we can pause again to see if there's anyone that wants to comment on the budget, and then following that we can close the hearing and the board can consider adoption of the budget and the resolution. The preliminary budget that the board approved was a $349,000 increase to the overall levy, which comes out to about 7.4% increase. The impact of that on the average tax bill is about $141 on the average home. The average home is about a $315,000 value. Some good news based on the other taxing jurisdictions. The school district of Monona Grove and Dane County, as well as Madison College, all of those taxing jurisdictions added into our bottom line is actually will come out to roughly $159 decrease for the average home. So this year we were saved by the other taxing jurisdictions, you could say. But we do have some key projects and initiatives that are included in the 23 budget, and just want to highlight some of those. The budget includes hiring 5 new full-time positions. 3 are new police officers, 2 are public works and utility employees. One of those positions will be 100% funded as by the water and sewer utility, so not directly tax levy funded. We have significant parks investment next year into Bakken Park, which is the final phase of Bakken Park improvements. It's a $1.6 million investment, including 4 new tennis courts, 2 new basketball courts, both with lights, an open air shelter with restrooms, and 76 new parking stalls. There's some equipment replacement, including dump truck, public works, general transportation vehicle, and a 3/4 ton pickup, and police department squad replacement as well. And then there's certainly many other things in this budget, but these are kind of just the high level highlights that I wanted to touch base on. And then unique to this year's budget is ARPA funding from the federal government that we have available, and some of the notable projects that we're going to be looking to do in 2023 and funded with the federal funding is radio upgrades for Deer Grove VMS, the Cottage Grove Fire Department, and Public Works. Upgraded meeting technology upgrades here in Village Hall, so we can have improved hybrid meetings in this room. Some new upgrades in Commerce Park for street lighting, and then some significant facility studies involving a library master plan, village campus projects, rephasing and cost analysis, and then a site feasibility study for a potential future EMS services station number 2. So with that, John, this kind of just covers the high level highlights in the 2023 budget.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Again, this is a public hearing. Again, public's opportunity to speak on the preliminary budget. Again, if you do want to speak, we just ask that you share your name, your address, and your municipality, so we can capture those for public record, and then hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes, just in case we have a number of folks who would like to speak. So with that, I will pause again, be quiet, and allow anybody either in the room or on Zoom to raise their hand. All right, then we'll close this portion of the public hearing and move right to discuss, consider the resolution 2022-20, resolution to adopt our 2023 budget, authorizing the clerk to levy taxes. Any questions, comments from the board members?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the 2023 budget and authorizing the clerk to levy taxes.
Second.
All right, thanks, Melissa, and thank you, David. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, to mix things up a little bit, because there are quite a few folks in the room here who would like to see the swearing in ceremony. I'd like to move the swearing in ceremony for Police Chief, new Chief, Mark Gary, up from next, unless the board has any issues. All right. I think so.
You happy so you don't have to struggle repeating after me.
Oh. Yes, sorry. I'd like to invite the Police Commission, Jeff Sonnenberg, to provide a summary of the chief's recruitment process, as well as a brief introduction of Chief Gary.
Seated?
By the mic so that the Zoom folks can hear you. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, thank you. The very brief meeting we had prior to the Board of Trustees meeting was the culmination of a great deal of work that started back nearly a year ago when Chief Labor informed us of his choice to retire, a very well-earned retirement. And that proceeded into some meetings in council with Matt, with Chief Labor, JJ, trying to find the path that we wanted to take to find the next chief of police. We ultimately chose to hire GovHR, and Lee Shimborski came on board to help us. Began our work in earnest in July, where we worked with Chief Labor to put together a updated job description for the position, and then also worked through a profile. This is a very attractive job that we thought, given the growth of the village and the current standard that we hold in the department. And that resulted in us having 30 candidates for the position, which we brought down to 11, and then to 6, and then to 3, and then to 1. And with that, we chose as our next chief can I say previous now? The previous deputy chief of the village of Pewaukee. We were very impressed with Mark. For those of you that had the opportunity to attend our reception with our finalists, I think you had the opportunity to see Mark in action, if you will. And we were just very pleased throughout the process. We went to a number of different stakeholders within our public safety group, within village staff, and ultimately every party was unanimous in ranking Mark first as the top candidate. And so in that respect, it was a very easy decision, and we're very happy to have him on board. I would like to just close by thanking all of my fellow commissioners, Kara Music, Joanna Williams, Jess Robinson, and Jenny Leader, for a lot of hours and a lot of commitment to get this done. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, Lisa.
All right. Repeat after me, please. I, Mark Berry.
I, Mark Berry.
Who has been appointed to the office of Chief of Police
who has been appointed to the office of Chief of Police
with the Village of Cottage Grove,
with the Village of Cottage Grove,
Dane County, Wisconsin,
Dane County, Wisconsin,
pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 62.13 (3),
pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 62.13 (3),
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of Chief of Police to the best of my ability.
and will faithfully discharge my duties of Chief of Police to the best of my ability.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chief, this is badge number 8201 for the Cottage Grove Police Department. It is the chief's badge. I'll keep the other two for another couple of weeks. I still need them, but congratulations on your appointment to chief. I'm sure you do a great job. You come well recommended, and here is your badge.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll take just a brief moment of your time. First off, thank you so much for selecting me to be your next chief. As I previously stated, the foundation that's been laid here by Chief Labor is wonderful, and I look forward to building upon that. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the Police Commission, the Village Board, and most importantly, my family, my fiance, I have friends and family there in the audience here. With their support and through their support, I've been able to attain this position. And again, I thank you very much. I thank my current chief for all that he has supported me, and also my police commission chairman through my career. Other than that, I will let you get on with your meeting, and I thank you very much for this opportunity. Look forward to working with you in the near future.
We're going to take a few pictures, and then before that, I'd just like to thank again the police commission for all their hard work in making this very important decision for the village. I also like to thank this guy walking across the room right now, soon to be former chief of labor, who's going to go off into the retirement zone and hopefully enjoy a lot of time fishing, hunting, or whatever you choose to do while you're golfing. Excellent. I was going to get there. Can't golf right now unless you go somewhere warm. And I also like to welcome our new chief, Gary, to the community. We are a welcoming community. We're excited to have you come and join us. And I'm sure the staff is also raring to go to work with you as you continue with the growth of the community. So appreciate that. Photos, right? Order, I think. Easiest thing, right?
We're good enough. but-
Yeah, we're fine.
What a triple handshake. Thank you.
There you want me. Gabe saying no.
One more.
If you want me to.
Doesn't matter where you.
I did too. That's nice.
Like we're doing the wave, but I can't take the wave.
Receiving money. It's so.
Is that like a magical podium where like it just has names in there? You just pull it out and somebody wants this.
Ta-da. Courtesy of Lisa.
Right.
Nobody wants to watch the board meeting. Well. I feel like it was something we said. Wow.
Probably. I think I said something about welcoming and they all left. Hey, JJ, you wanna just grab that? I know we're an open meeting, but so they can talk. And the door is what I meant, but that's good too, Gabe. Thanks, JJ. All right, next, then we're gonna go move to unfinished business. Discuss, consider the interview process for the open trustee seat. So Chris brought this up just to make sure we're all clear, which is good, because you can run these in a number of different ways. And so, Chris, I don't know if you want to just.
Yeah, sure. I was just wondering if how we wanted to run the interviews with the individuals, if we wanted to do individual interviews one by one, or if we wanted to do panel interviews. My personal preference, I guess, would be a panel interview and then go candidate A, B, C for one question, and the next question, C, B, A, just so that it seems more equal. But
Yeah, and just a quick note on the individual interviews. So the reason it gets a little tricky is we can't go into closed session for interviews. These aren't employees, so there's no closed session exemption. So that means we do need to have all of these in open session. You can ask the other candidates to leave and they aren't required to do so. So that's just one of the drawbacks. I've seen it done either way. I think it can be done successfully, both methods.
So it's really you know, up to the board and how you guys want to approach this. You know, again, the panel way certainly allows each candidate to kind of field a question initially. Whereas if you're interviewing and if someone chooses not to leave, then they get to hear the response of, you know, the first or second or whatever candidate. So it's totally how folks want to do it. I did think that we'd certainly want each candidate to introduce themselves and probably do some closing comments, you know, kind of why they should be the selected trustee to fill some big shoes over here. So not that you have big shoes, just.
Chris, was there a particular concern that you had around interviewing one at a time?
I was just concerned that whoever goes last would have a big advantage over whoever goes first. If they hear the questions first, they have a little bit more time to prepare than the first person.
John, how have we done them in the past?
We have done it both ways, I think, in the past.
Was there one way that worked better than others?
No, I think as long as the candidate, if you do it interviewing individually, as long as the one candidate or other candidates step out, then it doesn't give anybody an advantage. But if they don't, then it does give an advantage to what Chris is saying. So the panel would for sure cover that, because then everybody be on the same playing field for various questions.
Mhm.
One thing that's different this time though is that we do have Zoom now and previously we didn't. And so even if they aren't in the room, they could be. Theoretically, I'm not saying that anybody would or wouldn't. It's just, it's a new thing
Everybody
that
there,
wasn't
watching.
there the last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That any of this happened. But it's good that this is being discussed, because it was kind of. It wasn't really solidified at our last meeting, so that's good.
Strong opinion.
I think the panel, I guess it makes sense, and then we can loop in whoever's on, if someone's on Zoom as well.
Okay. Everybody comfortable with that?
And then probably just for opening statements, start at one end, closing statements, go the other way. Good.
And depending on how many you get, you could also like have, instead of going back and forth, because the people in the middle would then always be in the middle, so you could start 1, 2, and 3, 2, 3, 1.
Yeah, no, I think that's the way I would assume the panel would work. If it's more than 2.
Yep, that's what I was gonna suggest.
So the only other thing with this is, you know, it'd be good to kind of get our questions to either myself or Lisa or both of us beforehand. Just so we have those in hand. And we can share that blind copy everybody so everybody has a list of questions and know what's going to be asked.
Now that
Go ahead.
Chris has planted a seed in my head, we only have 2 so far. But if there's like 10 or 12 people show up, will we talk about anything about like time limits or number of questions?
I'm good at saying 3 minutes a lot, aren't you?
You were very good at that. Very good at that.
And if we have 10, we'll have to pare that down.
Okay, cool.
So agree.
Do you know something we don't know? 10, 12 people.
Hey, stranger things have happened.
You have to send an email first, or could they just show up every day?
Rick?
So I guess I don't know if it was set in stone last time. I mean, preferably you'd want to have time to evaluate the candidates before like the actual interview process. I don't think there's anything wrong with you setting, you have to send us the email before the meeting. Otherwise, we don't have time to consider the candidate.
Is that even in the posting?
It's just open until filled. So I mean, it's really up to the board. If someone submitted, or came in with a letter of interest, it's up to you guys. You could just not consider that person because they just didn't give you enough notice. You could, you could postpone the whole process, that you could really do anything you would want to do. But I would think most would want. If people were interested, there's enough lead time to submit something at least a day prior, but.
Cause I
We
mean,
didn't want to assume as staff that if you don't submit by a certain time frame that you'd be excluded, because we can't really say that. It's up to the board.
I mean, to some extent, there is a verification process. Their qualifications are minimal, like by statute. You just have to be an elector of the village. But you do have to vet to make sure that they're actually eligible. No felony conviction that would disqualify them from serving. So I think it's totally fair to say you have to submit by a certain time just so we can verify you're eligible.
And we've just gotten 2 by email. We haven't got any like physical letters or anything.
Would we update the posting then with that information?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea to update that.
Yeah,
Social media.
Yeah.
Do we have a date that we want to make for the deadline? Like Friday before or
That's what I
Thursday
think.
before? So you got Friday. Check that out.
the other question I had then on that is, do we want the names of the candidates in the agenda? If a member of the public wishes to speak in favor or whichever again, for a candidate. I don't know if that would be.
Yeah,
We can do that if it's, especially if we have that deadline, if it's by end of business on that Thursday before the meeting, that would give us time to have, PD do a quick check to see if there's, check criminal history. That's pretty much the only thing, and make sure they're a resident, verify. And then their letters of interest or anything they submit and their name can, that would be in the packet and on the agenda.
Yeah, it's not legally required that you put all the names, but I think it's a good practice. There's nothing wrong with being more specific.
Anything else? So,
I do. I just have a quick question.
sure.
Is it the kind of interview process like in the other world, in the real, in the non-public world? Like where they would ask us questions, or is that not something you do in this setting?
It's totally up to you. If you want to open up to questions that they may have, that's fine. I wouldn't share anything confidential, I guess, but that's about it.
Okay, thanks.
I know when I went through it, we weren't allowed to ask questions, but different board, different time. Does anybody have an opinion on that? Questions from?
I don't know. I think it would make sense. So if they have one question they want to ask the board, I don't know. What do others think?
I mean, I feel like now is the time to ask us questions,
Okay,
because
if they have questions.
I mean,
they
we've
should
all
raise-
talked separately at times, like there's no one here from the public. Right, and now is not the time to come and ask us questions about, I mean, you can, I'm not saying you can't, but I'm just saying, like, if somebody has an issue with the budget or they have an issue with Parks and Rec, the best time to do that is before the discuss and consider is in front of the board.
Yeah,
Right, I think it's fair to offer up the questions, but I think if someone is interested in the position, that they would be proactive in reaching out and talking to us and would play an active role in the lead up to the 19th. So little cognitive distance here, I think we should do it, but at the same point, if someone waits to ask that time, just personally, you had weeks to ask us these questions, and you waited to the meeting to ask us the question. To me, it's kind of telling. For what it's worth, I guess.
Mhm. Others, I don't have strong feelings. But David, it sounds like you're suggesting that we do allow them to ask questions,
Yeah.
but
I don't
It
like
would.
it, but we should do it.
David's trapped.
You You can tell John's the hiring manager.
Anything else? I don't know if we need to motion this.
I think we've got a general consensus, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
because it'd be a long motion.
yeah.
And we should have our questions submitted or sent to the village board, so folks know what questions we want to ask, right? By Friday or,
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be best. That way we can distribute them out back out. If you want to just send them to avoid any. Thing, just send them to Lisa, myself, and maybe Matt, and then we'll
okay,
bring them together and then. Put them out.
okay.
So the candidates see them before, or
Mm,
are you just getting them ready?
Getting ready.
Okay.
So that. In this situation, we want to ask with every candidate, we want to ask the same questions. So if we have them captured. We're more likely to ask the same questions for everybody. Just again, to be consistent and fair to everyone. Which is, what we do an interview process too.
I guess my last question, after someone is appointed, then they join us right away. And so do we let them know that if they're selected, that they would be here for the remainder of the meeting? This would be their first meeting? I don't know.
So you would vote to appoint them. They do still need to fill out an official oath and bond. So it doesn't become effective until they do that. So you can vote to appoint them at the meeting, but it doesn't really become effective until the next day, or you can even set a date of when it is effective. So
You couldn't have them take the oath right then and there.
they could theoretically like sign their oath and I suppose fill in right away, as long as the board makes it known that the appointment is effective immediately upon them filling their paperwork.
I know that's a lot to like put someone like right in them.
Deep in.
No, right, so voting on these things, but
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have had the packet, I guess, to look at. But
Maybe certainly get involved, consistent with the board and at least observe it so that they start to.
yeah, I would say wait until the next meeting before they officially join in.
sounds good.
So does, I guess, did staff get enough direction as far as when applications need to be in by to put the information out there?
By 4:30 on the Thursday prior to the meeting. Yep, thanks.
All right, if there's nothing else on that, then we'll move on. Next, then we have item 8B, annual review of village consultants and service providers. First up is Johnson Block. We're here.
So.
Just so that
Have they gone up the hallway now?
we better there.
You can go.
Okay. All right, so I'm Larry Rasmussen Jr., Director of IT, Johnson Block, the Business Technologies Division. Probably most of you know that, but I was told to come here and kind of talk about what we're doing. So I just kind of put together a brief agenda. I'll try to keep it 3 minutes, or I think that's a sweet spot that I'm hearing these days.
No, it's not for you.
All right. So basically, I just put together what do we do? Who are we? What have we done? What are we doing? And what are we going to do? Just kind of keep it simple and high level, obviously, questions at the end. So as far as services that we supply, I mean, we do application support, user support. Essentially, if somebody has a problem, they contact us and we help them resolve it, get them back working as fast as possible. We also do hardware budgeting, replacement scheduling, so we can plan for the future and know what our numbers are going to look like as we go forward. Network and system support and maintenance, making sure everything's running, everything's updated, that sort of thing from a network side. Process procedure definition. So things like procurement, if somebody wants something, what's the process they go through for that? If somebody or new users, when somebody is brought in, as you know, we're bringing on new employees, what does that look like for the village? So we help kind of write those out, do some workflows. Quarterly project service reviews, which we do quarterly. So we're going to look at everything that we've been doing up until that point, and then also what's ahead on the horizon, try to get things scheduled and go from there. The servers, maintenance, monitoring, support, keep things running. And then vendor evaluation and selection assistance is, for example, we had a cabling project over at Public Works. I've got contacts in many different vendors, many different areas, so I can help with that. Should you want it. So I usually provide a couple of references. I think I did for the AV stuff here as well. So that's most of what we do at a high level. There's a lot that falls under all of those categories, but we'd be here forever if I went through that. So, our team, we are actually looking to hire one more, so this will grow. Myself, obviously, as the director. Jacob Fesky is our systems administrator and also the manager of the help desk and service team. Josh Walls, our level 2 support technician. Jacob and Josh both have over 10 years of experience, specifically at accounting firms, which makes it easy because everything else is not nearly as convoluted as an accounting firm. I can say that because it's my parent company. It's fine. Joe Hansen and Jackson Fonder are both level 1 support technicians, and they'll help everybody as things come in and make sure that we get people back up and running as quickly as we can. So what have we done? When we came together and had our partnership, we came up with a 6-month onboarding roadmap. I'll try to keep it quick because there's a lot on here, but sending an organization-wide communication. This is us. This is how to reach us. Don't hesitate. These are the different ways. We've got phone number. We've got an email. We've got a chat client. A lot of ways to get in touch with us. So we sent that out so everybody was aware. Can contact us when they need to. Audit all licensing from vendors, making sure we're in line with what we need and we're not over provision paying for stuff we're not using. Also auditing Windows Active Directory and server accounts to make sure there's nothing sitting around that's active that doesn't need to be from a security standpoint. Install Sophos firewalls at all locations. This is the one we have not done yet, although I think we have it scheduled. So it's coming, but that connects everything in a single pane of glass for us with our antivirus and other tools. Again, install security tools, organization-wide communication, explaining what they are, how they work, how it may impact their daily workflow. And then we're on site for 2 days after each implementation. We've done this twice now, and we really haven't had too much of an issue on that, which is good. Security training for all users and testing with email follow-up, which is a requirement, but we got that done and are actually just about to start that again for the annual compliance there. Asset lifecycle and replacement schedules, what we're talking about, hardware budgeting, making sure that we're aware of what's ahead. What do we need to budget for ahead of time so that it doesn't hit us all in 1 year, doesn't hit us in 1 quarter, that sort of thing. And then we had performed our first 2 quarterly network and security scans, which we covered at the review meetings, at the quarterly business reviews. So that's what we did. What we're doing currently, which is also what we did. Just our support metrics. So from February 11th, which was the first ticket, I think that was actually before we were official, but there have been 397 tickets submitted for support from users. 396 of those were resolved. Cameron had 1 open when I ran this report, and it really bothered me. But, it's fixed now. Our average response time has been 5 minutes, which is incredible. That's what we pride ourselves on, letting people know we care. We're going to get to you. We see it. We're ready to help. 52 minutes as a resolution time. That includes long calls with Civic, which we have to do every so often, all that sort of stuff. So it averages out to about 52 minutes, which is good. Total tickets created, 4,693. This includes our automation tools. So if a service stops running, something like that, it automatically kicks it 3 times. That doesn't work, it creates a ticket for us, all that sort of stuff. Most of that is automated. Some of it is followed up on. So it looks like we have 76 that are out there. And some of that is also planning project stuff that isn't a support ticket. So numbers look very good there. And then really upcoming events, we got a lot. We're going to be busy. Infrastructure replacements, firewalls, servers, switches, and access points are all up for renewal. And I believe that's been budgeted for, but we have to get all that stuff in. We're actually just before they become outdated, so we're right on par with where we want to be. But there's plenty of work coming ahead. And then we have a fourth quarter planning review meeting or quarterly review, which is actually scheduled now. I think we were clarifying who all was going to be at it, but I think that's all done. So that's coming up where we're going to do process and procedure review. End of year, I like to look at all the workflows we've created. Are they still accurate? Are they still the people that should be the point on anything we're going over? That sort of thing. Scheduling the projects, like I said, we've got a lot of work coming up. So when do we want to do that? When does it make sense? And then we have a lot of workstation replacements that are coming, and it's not a big deal, but scheduling that out is also really helpful. And then every year we have our security training that will be at the beginning of the year. And I think generally we give a 1 month grace period to complete that for everybody. I think actually all of you have to do it too. So I'm probably not the most beloved man here. But that's really who we are, what we do, what we've done, what we're going to do. So I don't think I made 3 minutes, but I tried to keep it kind of high level and not dive too deep into it. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Larry. Questions from the board?
Larry, thank you for putting that together. I had two questions. One was the email address domain switch over.
Yep.
I know I asked to have mine switched over.
To the .gov.
Yeah. Village of Cottage Grove.gov. Yeah.
Right, instead of the
long one that I can never remember. Just curious on an update on when that will be for everyone, because some of us are changing and the majority of us aren't.
Yeah, the biggest thing on that is the third-party login. So if you have an account, that's not going to change. So we're trying to figure out the best way to distribute that information, make sure people know what that is before we do it.
Okay.
Just to avoid more confusion
Yeah.
after we do it. So my guess is probably by the time we meet, I think you're actually coming to the meeting, so it'll be beneficial. We'll be able to set a hard date by then and just verify that. Are you guys comfortable with this communication going out? Do we think there will not be any confusion? I just don't want to make it worse.
Yes. No, there'll definitely be some.
But can we minimize it, right? So
Best laid plans.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And then my second question is, when you originally came, you talked about kind of one of Johnson Block's kind of the highlights of what you do is a lot of user training, right? And I'm curious if there's any plans to talk, and I know Cameron's going to talk about this, but just curious from your perspective, kind of like OneDrive and SharePoint online discussions with staff, just kind of talking through, not necessarily forcing workflow changes, but there's a lot of times where JJ's not here, so I get to talk about him.
Yeah.
But like he'll email me an attachment, I'll drop it into OneDrive and it'll have a link back to it. I think I'll pick on Matt too. Like Matt sent out an Excel doc a couple weeks ago and then sent out 3 more copies of it because again, it's a OneDrive thing. And again, I work for Microsoft, so I do this all the time. So as part of my day job, but like just helping the staff kind of like, hey, here's some things you can do to save some time. And Lisa knows how to get a hold of me through Teams now. So that's good too. So I'm just curious, like from a training perspective, is there like a roadmap for, hey, here's what we're thinking around training?
So I guess there's not a specific one for that,
Okay.
but that's like a great, and we talk about this every quarter, so I don't know if he's already talked to you, but
A little bit.
yeah, okay, so like bring us the idea, like, hey, we're definitely doing this and we want everybody to do this. So like if a couple people are doing it, but we're saying it's way more efficient, this is really going to help the village. Okay, let's create a document, let's create a walkthrough, let's create a tutorial, that kind of thing. So we're definitely happy to do it, but it's hard to guess kind of exactly what people want or what from a village wide standpoint. So individuals can call us at any time and we can walk them through something on the help desk. But if we're going to do it, if we want to make a document, send it out to everybody, I want to make sure that everybody's on board with it.
Okay.
Or at least there's approval to do so from a high level.
And kind of do that. A lot of the times with these trainings, it's 2 sides. So we haven't had the staff internally to kick going this. So got through budget cycle. One of the things I've talked to Larry about is we really should have some type of change management policy, some type of cybersecurity training policy, something to guide these actions, kind of best practice. Okay, how do we share documents? What are best practices and what are the types of sharing methods should we disallow? So really, I think a goal for myself would be 2nd, 3rd quarter. I know that feels far away.
It's-
But there's a lot of things before then, and we really have been, the last few months working with Larry and pushing them pretty hard. I thank you for your presentation today. Larry's been great to work with. And kind of getting things kicked back and started again. I think, what was it, like 400 tickets, 400 tickets times 52 minutes a pop on average resolution time. So certainly helpful to get things moving from a day-to-day perspective. So appreciate you.
Yeah, and actually kind of to that point, we do have a bunch of like blanket policies that we can provide, but we can't, obviously there's lawyers and stuff. We need to make sure that you guys adopt them into your own situation. But even further than that, like an acceptable use, those are the types. So I have those blank ones already out there. I don't think they've been really looked at too much yet. So again, our fourth quarter review would be a great time to kick those back up and kind of go, okay, which ones of these should we prioritize and which ones can we kind of work on for like Q3, 4 kind of.
So taking bite-sized pieces at those best practice IT policies, and then at first at the quarterly meetings, and then bringing it to the board to approve.
No, Larry, you guys do a fantastic job. I appreciate, you inherited some stuff. And you've done a fantastic job. I appreciate and really applaud you guys. And again, the metrics, again, for those that haven't worked in this space, like those metrics are pretty incredible. Even for a small municipality like this, to have an average response time of 5 minutes is pretty incredible. So thank you.
I do drive them really hard.
Yes, I can tell.
I reward them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just just the boss ever. But yeah, it's really important, right? I mean, ultimately, and that's always been my theory. People want to know you care more than anything else. You might not be able to fix it right away, but you can tell them that you're looking at it. So
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
So everything that David just talked about, I don't understand at all. So
I'm working on a translating program where we can just say it into there that comes out. We're gonna get it.
So my one comment, I guess, is it sounds like you're doing great. And I think that it seems like our technology is getting advanced. So that's great. My comment is more directed at Matt, though, not you.
Oh.
In that I hope that any new trustees that come on, that if they're technologically I don't know what the right word is. Not savvy.
Oh, if they're not, oh, I got impaired.
Yes.
Or whatever they say.
Thank you.
yeah.
That you'll be able to help guide them through, like with something at the beginner, at the orientation.
Sure, most of my help will be pointing them towards Cameron
Good.
and Larry, but yes,
I feel like this is gonna.
no. Yeah, we can make a point of that during the
I mean,
orientation. So, I mean, I think just asking some questions on even just finding out how they prefer to communicate and things like that, you can kind of start to glean through what people prefer.
how savvy we are at Outlook or not, or Teams or not.
And just, I'm happy to meet with somebody on the way in. I mean, we usually spend the first day of onboarding with any new employee everywhere. It's one of the, I mean, twofold, right? We want to train them. We want to make sure they know what's going on and how to do the things they need to do, but also a face is always better, right? It's easy to get mad at some name on a screen, but when you know somebody, it's just a little bit better for somebody. So I'm happy to meet with them if you'd like.
Thank you.
Anything else for Larry? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick?
Your own name. Oh, you gotta take it
No,
out.
it's You can't grab it out of the magic box.
Don't have a fancy PowerPoint, I'm sorry. Well, first, I just want to say, thank you to all of you for choosing us 3 years ago. So this is, I guess, our 3-year check-in. And, at the outset, I just want to say that, working with this board and the staff, it's honestly a privilege because you all make our job a lot easier, frankly, just it's so easy to work with. There's such a dedicated staff and board. Unfortunately, Larry couldn't be here tonight. I was on the phone with him this morning and he was taking a COVID test and came back positive when I was talking to him. So that's why it's just me tonight, I guess. But so I guess if I were to pick a theme for, you know, what we've been working on this past year, it's been improving the agreements that the village has. So for instance, starting at development sort of highlights, I guess TID 10 is where we spent a lot of effort the past year. You know, we've been spending a lot of time working on the development agreements, working on improving those over the course of the last 3 years, but particularly in the last, I'd say 12 to 18 months, we spent a lot of time trying to just rework how the village does development agreements and making sure we're improving those processes. Obviously, we've spent a lot of time on emergency services, just trying to improve those. We're making a lot of headway on that. And thanks to, again, a lot of the dedicated village board members here. But it's been just a truly main focus is just trying to improve a lot of the processes that are already in place. And on top of that, one thing that's really important to me personally is the election processes. So Lisa is obviously amazing at her job running the elections, but we've wanted to make sure we feel like she feels supported in her role, especially in the last few years with a lot of the different challenges that election officials have been facing. So, you know, we're always there to help make sure that if there are any difficulties or issues that come up with individuals, we're trying to work through those problems and find creative solutions. And I guess another thing I would just like to add is, you know, we take a collaborative approach in the way that we handle, you know, the legal service that we provide. I mean, at this point, a lot of, we feel sort of ingrained in the team where, you know, we're providing the legal services as well, but there's a lot of, you know, strategies that go into it as well. I mean, you know, we figure out our goals and objectives. We help create those roadmaps with the village on how we're going to achieve those goals. So it's, you know, we don't necessarily feel like the outside consultant or like a hired gun or anything like that. It's more, we feel ingrained in the team here. And that's truly rewarding for us. And it's honestly, it just makes working for this community incredibly satisfying. But on top of that, our firm does take a collaborative approach as well. Just looking at the amount of people that we've had working on Village Matters over the years, we're up to over a dozen, I think, which is over 20% of our firm, which is pretty significant. It just sort of shows the breadth of legal issues that the community has to deal with. And, you know, the team that we've got there to support the village and whatever endeavors it come about. So that's my brief little summary, I guess, but I'm happy to answer any questions or chat about anything.
That was over 3 minutes.
I know, I'm no PowerPoint, over 3 minutes.
6-minute increments.
Anything from the board?
Rick, I just like to again say thank you. You and Larry are fantastic. You know, in my day job, I spend a lot of time talking about partnerships and trying to be a partner. And I think you guys go above and beyond. It's not just partnership. You feel like you're part of the team, right? And so I think that's always what you're striving for, right? It's one thing to be a vendor, it's another thing to be a partner. And whatever this is deeper. I don't know the team. I don't know what you call it. Some fancy business word, but really do appreciate you guys' partnership, and it's been a fun ride. So I'm looking forward to many more years together. Thank you. Thank you.
I can't believe it's been 3 years already.
I know. Time's flown by.
It
There was a
has.
pandemic in there and
Still here. Again, I mean, David said everything, so I'm more directed at Matt and just, I guess, saying that I really appreciate these reviews of our consultants. I think it's really helpful for the board. And I think that's part of why it's more of like a collaboration feeling and teamwork partnership, because we have this face-to-face time and actually know who the entities are that we're working with. So thank you. And thank you.
Thanks. And just one thing to add, and this is, for as much as we all enjoy working with, Rick and Larry, for me in particular, when Larry said the best side of things will be when we're not speaking as much on a daily basis. So when it started out, I was probably talking to Larry at least once a day, if not twice, and sometimes talking to both Larry and Rick almost, daily or every other day. And now there's times where I might only talk to them once or twice in a week. So that's mainly a good thing. But as Rick mentioned, it's not always actual legal advice. They're an extension of staff and provide strategic professional advice in general. So that's really helpful for everyone. So thanks.
Thank you.
And it's not like they haven't gotten busier either. That's the other thing. So that says a lot.
I'm just not calling them.
Yeah.
They're working on things. I'm just not having to be talking to them.
Yeah, I would just add I'm grateful for the partnership, and I text you sometimes, which seems wild to be able to text our attorney and you respond.
Day or night, we're always here.
Yeah, I know, but no, so thank you for all your help on these projects.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Rick. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
And
Try to
please,
be tougher next time.
certainly share with Larry positive comments as well. All right. Next up, then we have reports from village boards, commissions, and committees. Public Works is first up. Heidi.
Sorry, so this is actually an item outside of a committee meeting. An update to our alternate side parking after our streets projects from this year. So there's a memo. Brian here, JJ here, if there's something you want to highlight on that?
It's really just for East Taylor and West Oak, where we shrunk West Oak, and you can only park on one side, and East Taylor we added the bike lane, so there's only parking on one side, so alternate side parking doesn't apply. Any questions?
I have a question just to satisfy my own curiosity. I live in a cul-de-sac. How does that alternate side parking work for that? It's all, I mean, I guess it's all even numbers, so that would just count as an even side of the street, or?
Chief? I'm not sure.
That's a good question.
You hardly have any parking in your, like, there's no one in the driveway.
Well, I mean,
You to park in front of your driveway.
Good question.
We'll have to get back to you on that one.
Another ordinance.
Yeah. Anything on this particular change? Anything else?
Then I would make a motion to approve ordinance 08-2022, amending chapter 305-7 D2 alternate side parking as presented.
All right. Thank you, Heidi. Is there a second? Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then? Aye. Anybody oppose? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next up, we have Law Enforcement Committee. We met on the 22nd of November. Fairly short meeting. We did have a discuss and consider in there about eliminating the part-time officer program at the end of the year, which the committee approved. Then went through the activities, detective, et cetera. There was really not much there. A lot of the work has been done prior to that with the budget and everything. So looking at the end of December, we have a joint meeting with both chiefs. If we can, so. Any questions?
What was the part-time officer program?
well, we had one part-time officer. Less than before. Anymore. So instead of allocating budget funds for that.
Sure.
It's not like in past perfect. Work 2 or 3 different places and then get hired someone. They're getting hired.
Right. Right.
We did have a suicide this weekend. Needing to apply for state to go out. Sheriff's Department. They did say it's like probably see them get all that situation like that. Enter the residents in this. One of those things that is.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. Chief, can I ask, do we then provide mental health follow-up for the officers involved?
Yeah, they are offered each time they have one of those, the EAP program. Sad to say.
All right, moving then to NADVIG, David, Melissa.
Yep, so that big was a long one. We met Monday, November 28th. We met at 6 p.m. There were 3 of us. Melissa couldn't make it. We made a motion to approve the minutes. We approved the bills. No testing results. Set a meeting at the next meeting event, and then we closed the meeting 3 minutes later. It's a solid meeting all the way around.
That's efficient. All right, next then up is joint fire. I bet that wasn't 3 minutes.
No, it was not 3 minutes. Okay, so we met the same day, 30 minutes later, Monday, November 28th. Got together, we approved the minutes. Chief gave his report. We did not bother with the flooring estimates because we're waiting for another estimate. Then we ended up tabling a discuss and consider item around Cottage Grove Fire Department Car 1. So the fire department would really appreciate a command vehicle. I've talked to Nick for months now around a command vehicle. I think it would be helpful. So far, they either use their own personal vehicles or they use a brush truck for command vehicle. For those that don't know, if you're the commander on scene at a structure fire, you don't go into the fire. You stand there and you kind of over the walkie-talkie, you tell firemen what to do. You don't have a whiteboard. You would typically have a whiteboard, so you could jot notes down. You could kind of keep track of things. And today they don't have that, right? So they make do with what they have. They did talk to McFarland. McFarland is replacing their command vehicle. Cottage Grove Fire Department Inc. would like to purchase said vehicle. And we had a fairly long conversation. Actually, Sarah was there, no, sorry. And Sarah brought up the idea of, can we, how are we supposed to pay for a vehicle that we don't own, right? Because they want the discuss and consider item was around us paying for gas, fuel, and insurance, but we don't own the vehicle. So what do we do there? So we had a nice, long, lengthy conversation around that. Ultimately, we tabled it. They were going to go back to their membership to see if they were okay with selling the vehicle to the district for $1 or something, or donating or something. So more to come there. That was a lengthy conversation. Then the next one we talked about Cottage Grove Fire Department's role in construction inspections. The fire department and general engineering and village staff had a fair amount of conversation since the summer around who's supposed to do the initial fire inspections of commercial buildings. So checking for fire sprinklers. It's predominantly about the fire sprinklers more than anything. The way it was communicated to us is that general engineering is supposed to do that initial inspection, and then the fire department will do subsequent annual inspections around those sprinkler systems. And there was a discrepancy between general engineering and the fire department as to who was supposed to do those initial ones. And I'll say it was a disagreement between the two entities. And so eventually it kind of made its way. the topic made its way to the fire district committee meeting because both the village and the town use general engineering for inspections. So Nick felt it best to go there because whatever we decide to do, the village, more than likely the town will come to that conclusion. Ultimately, we decided as a committee that general engineering has, I mean, they're in there doing all the inspections. It's not just sprinklers, it's everything for a final building inspection. The fire department will always come and see the pressure testing, but they, they're a volunteer fire department. They don't get paid to do that. Like we would pay them to do this, but at the end of the day, general engineering's there doing everything else. Why not just do the rest of it? And that was kind of the decision for me personally. That was kind of the deciding factor was, yes, we could figure out how to pay the building inspectors for the fire department, but they're volunteers that are not, they don't do this for a living, right? They all have their own day jobs. And that was kind of at the outset of the meeting in my own head. And I had kind of talked to Sarah about this is like, we don't really have a horse in the race here. And the fire department kind of helped us see that one, general engineering is there already doing all kinds of inspections. And then, the building inspectors for the fire department aren't professional. So we ultimately decided to kind of keep it the way it is, or the way it's supposed to be, is that general engineering will do that initial one. And then the fire department will do all the subsequent inspections moving from then on. I'll pause there. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I can just add a little
Color.
Yeah. So the initial inspection issue came about because there was essentially a policy change at the Department of Safety and Professional Services. So traditionally, the understanding was that authority hadn't been delegated to the village. But now the policy, I guess, is that the village does have the responsibility. So that sort of created this issue of, well, who's going to do these inspections? So once we got that clarified, just offered to the fire department to see if they were interested. Ultimately, they decided that general engineering should go with it. It's not going to be any like fiscal impact because it's all covered in the inspection fees. But essentially what we're going to do is just sort of we're going to put it in writing, what the understanding is between the two entities. That way it's clear. And, when we have changeover and, we'd be doing an inspection or changing the chief at some point, if that happens, it's just clear for future people, this is how it should be done. So that'll hopefully avoid any confusion in the future. So biggest thing was we just needed a decision on who was going to do the inspections.
And Rick has that memorandum of understanding drafted, and we're gonna meet with Chief Archibald and Assistant Chief this Wednesday to go over that.
Is that agreement include the town then too?
No, it's just sort of like an internal operating procedure. So it's not even like a contract. It's just, here's what our expectations are, how we expect our service providers to.
From the village perspective.
Correct.
From the village, it has some things in there that we felt is that just to be consistent with how we approach all other kind of ordinance violations. So we don't come in with a heavy hand at the first time that anyone has some sort of issue with our ordinance. We do a warning process and a chance to opportunity to correct the issue as the first time. And then if there's a subsequent one, then we may move forward with a forfeiture of some sort. So it also lays out, there's a section in the MOU that just makes it clear to both general engineering and the fire department that if there is some sort of violation that they witness, that they don't issue on the first time a fine of some sort, just that if they've already had an issue with a certain property owner, that would have already been, in that instance, they wouldn't have to issue another warning. It's, they can go forward at that point. But anyway, it just kind of clears up those kind of things in addition to the fire suppression and fire alarm inspections.
John, to your question about village and town, the town ultimately, there was no motions made, there was no votes, but ultimately the town did agree that they're like, yeah, we'll do that too. So and then they said, have the village's engineer talk to the town's engineer for us, will you? Let them know we want to do the same thing. So old school way of doing things.
Be consistent, I guess, is,
Yeah.
It makes sense as long as everybody agrees to it. I think that's the best way, and then there's no confusion whatsoever, and general air engineering and the fire department have kind of the lay of the land going forward, and as long as everybody's okay with that, it's great.
Yep. And then we talked about ladder one replacement plan. Sarah ultimately kind of gave what I think is really good advice is like, we should just revisit the idea of a ladder one replacement every fiscal year. Watching lead times and watching prices. Again, we had Nick come a handful of meetings ago and kind of present things. At least it's on our radar. Prices are continuing to go up. It's not just supply chain. They also did kind of give us a little education around that. It's Pierce only manufactures so many ladders and trucks a year, right? And then when they fill their quota, they fill their quota. So there was a kind of a small conversation around, well, can we time it? Can we play some games with the timing around when we do put in the order? And I think ultimately we can't try to game the system because it can always come in earlier too. So I guess the crux of it is just keep looking at it every fiscal year, and when it makes sense to, once it reaches a threshold, whatever the board thinks that threshold is, then we can then start the conversation. And then last but not least, we presented the consolidated fire agreement, and Chris said he would present it to the town lawyer as soon as he could. So meeting lasted about an hour and change.
Any questions for David? All right, thank you. Next, then we have reports from village officers, starting off with village attorney. Rick, anything to add?
Nothing to report.
All right. Cameron, anything from you? We have a discuss and consider resolution.
Yeah, this is really based off of the 2023 budget, closing the tree fund, street tree fund, and accounting for those operations in the general fund. Because these funds, when the fund was created, were initially committed, we have to take formal action to decommit the funds. Currently, the fund balance, the way the resolution is written, would go into the capital projects fund to offset any levy used for capital funds in the future.
Any questions? Board?
I will move to approve dissolving the tree fund.
Second.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, David. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next up, I have a couple nominations for Tourism Commission. Brittany stepping in for Melissa, and then citizen member Eric Braun, who raised his hand and wanted to get involved. So any questions regarding that?
I will move to approve the nomination or the appointment of Brittany Ballwig and Eric Braun to the Tourism Commission.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next, we have Melissa.
Thank you. So I'm so grateful to have had this experience and opportunity to serve on the village board with all of you. And I treasure our time together working for the people in the village. I've learned so much during my time on this board, and as I continue in public service at the county and state level, my village board experience will be near and dear to my heart. Relationships are everything, and they are the best at times and they are frustrating at times, but they're also important in moving items forward in our community. I know that our staff, including our extended staff, They all really care about our community and serve our residents and board with their best intentions. I know they want to do what is best for our village, as we all do. And what I love the most is that they're open to new ideas. They want to work with board members to move our priorities forward. So this brings me to the library, which has become a passion of mine and is really important to so many in this community. To me, a library means more than just having a library. Working on this and trying to bring forward a library in our community has sort of become the epitome of what local government and advocacy for community initiatives is. So as some of you know, a library was not on my radar when I first started knocking doors for my first village board campaign. Many residents brought it up at doors randomly. This is why I've worked hard to bring it to the village board after I was elected. It's a service that our residents have asked for and something that they feel passionate about. It's also something that has allowed us on this board to have candid conversations and work to understand our budget and how our departments and staff work together as well. Our library discussions have also brought us to have discussions about diversity, equity, and inclusion in our community and what we envision in our village. A library to me has always been about having a gathering space for our residents that doesn't require payment, reservations, or special access. It's about everyone feeling like they have a space in our community where they can go anytime and knowing that it's there for them. A library also supplements education and what's being taught in our schools. And I know that a library will enhance our village, our kids' education, and the lives of our residents. And lastly, as someone who lives in the village and loves this community, I won't be far away. It won't surprise you that I will continue to advocate for a library, and I understand the budget constraints, which is why I ask that all of you continue to respect and work together as a board and with staff, which will make our community stronger and sets an example for our residents. I know that you'll do the hard work needed to find the way forward in putting the puzzle pieces together so a library and our other initiatives and priorities can become a reality in our village. And I will do what I can at the county and state levels to help our community too. So thank you for allowing me this time to share my thoughts.
Thank you, Melissa, for all your many hours with the village and bringing your expertise, as well as oftentimes highlighting even things going on at the county level the last few years too. It's been very helpful.
Definitely.
All right, next then we have communication Melissa business, and first up there is approval of vouchers. Any questions, comments regarding the vouchers as presented?
John, do you want to ask the question that John had a good question to Cameron and I think we can answer. If you can ask it, we'll answer it, and in that way everyone understands.
Okay, so when I was reviewing the vouchers, I saw a payment over to the village of Pewaukee, which I was kind of shocked at. So I didn't, just curious where that was coming from, and Cameron responded very quickly. And it's related to our new chief's insurance and allowing, with an agreement that he has with that village, for that to continue. And I'm assuming there's things set up in there that insurance is actually very personal. So that's what that is for. And I'll let Cameron and Matt talk about
I
that.
can just elaborate a little bit. So he requested as part of his counter offer to us that I accepted. So we, of course, offer health insurance benefits, either single or family plan, and being the max, of course, is the family plan, and we have a budget amount at that. And as he's leaving Pewaukee, he has the benefit that John's mentioning, and he can remain on their health plan, and it's actually comes out to about roughly, it'll save the village the end of the story is it'll save the village about $3,000 a year. So it's a good deal for the village. It's just that there's a payment that will make to them. It won't show up monthly. It'll be semi-annually, maybe twice a year, quarterly, Cameron.
Yeah, so you got the first tranche in December because we have to pay the insurance to be active January 1, the month before. And then you'll get the next one in June.
So, yes, so sometimes there's different arrangements for the health insurance, but we're, we're under the budget amount.
Cameron, I had a completely unrelated question. Why are we paying for 3 Amazon Prime memberships?
You shouldn't be paying for one, so it probably showed up 3 times as it's allocated to 3 different funds. The business membership is $4.99.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
No problem.
And because I like asking random questions like this, what's the fireman's dumpster? Is that for the fireman's park or a dumpster fire or?
Is Sean on the call? Otherwise, I can take a swing at this.
You can take this.
All right, so Sean requested, I think there was an event where he needed a dumpster at one of the parks. So I believe it was at Fireman's Park. We kind of talked about how we would handle this in the future. Because we actually got 2 bills for this, one for the actual placing the dumpster out there, and then they came back and billed us again for the quantity that was in there. So kind of challenge Sean and others. How can we get our best bang for our buck when that happens? If we get out there, can we utilize it for multiple events where if we have a set charge there? So I don't know the actual event, Matt, off the top of my head.
That's okay.
I don't know.
It's a very serious answer to a very silly question. So thank you.
No problem.
All right. If there are no other questions or comments regarding the vouchers, is there a motion?
Make a motion to make a motion to approve paying of the bills as written.
All right, thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Melissa. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Correspondence, I didn't have anything. Anything came through? Okay. Next up is upcoming community events. I know that it was very busy last weekend. For Christmas in the Grove, so that was very, very cool for those who were out at the various things, whether it's crafting or the parade or whatever. Lots going on, but I don't know what else might be going on the remainder of the year. Anybody has anything you want to highlight?
I just want to do a shout out to the police and Flavor for leading the parade and making sure all the traffic was blocked. Everything worked smoothly, and to Brian and the Public Works team for getting all the signs out to get the street cleared off, and for having a beautiful snowplow in the parade. It looked great. So thanks everyone that helped make that happen.
Thank Mother Nature for not being brutally cold. Because
Yes.
it's been in the past.
It was a great turnout and floats and attendance from the community.
All right, thank you, Heidi. Next up, future agenda items. We will have some from plan.
Yes. Agreement for the Johnson Health Tech project with Supreme Structuring. That day is Chief Gary's first day, and it's work. Kudos to Chief Labor for preference to have Chief Gary start a little bit earlier, just first when Chief is from a couple weeks spread around holidays, but I'll be very going.
And we do have an event for Chief on the 15th.
Oh, yes, yeah. So there'll be an open house here at Village Hall from 1 to 4. So stop by whenever you'd like.
All right. Very good. Then if there's nothing else, I'll move then to go into closed session. This is a closed session to establish a negotiating position regarding the Deer Grove EMS district agreement. The Village of Cottage Grove Board will enter a closed session in Wisconsin in pursuant of Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 parentheses 1 parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Melissa. With that, we'll have a roll.
Baldwin. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Peterson.
Aye.
Radcliffe.
Aye.
Stoa.
Aye.
Valencia. And Williams.
Aye. Now in closed session.